Perhaps the most moving lines written about soldiers is the famous epitaph by John Maxwell Edmonds. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. These poignant yet powerful words can be found etched in the vicinity of many a war memorial across the globe. The first installment of the Great India Drive with Hyundai saw us start off from the majestic Statue of Unity, making our way through Gujarat and Rajasthan along the western border. For the second leg, we drove across the breadth of the country to the far reaches of the achingly beautiful northeastern part of India, all the way to Violon in Arunachal Pradesh. The journey was tough as we had to contend with poor roads as well as under construction patches. But the sights we saw along the way made it absolutely worth it. Located just 20-odd kilometers from the India-China border, Violon is a small hamlet that sits on the banks of the Lohit River. It was the site of one of the most fiercely fought battles during the Sino-Indian War of 1962.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Great India Drive on Auto Today. Now, if you've been following us, you will know that we've already covered war memorials on the western part. Now we've driven across the breadth of this beautiful country and come to the extreme northeast here in Violon, very close to the China border. And this is the location of the first war memorial that we plan on visiting. It's the Violon War Memorial that pays homage to the soldiers that fought during the War of Violon, which was part of the 1962 conflict with China.
By around October the 21st to the 22nd, 1962, Chinese forces had commenced incursions, and it was quickly becoming clear that the Chinese outclassed India in terms of man and material. But our armed forces showed great resolve and continued to hold on to Violon and the surrounding area. As the enemy started turning up the heat, building up for the final attack, Indian troops continued to fight despite ammunition being in short supply and even managed to reclaim strategically important features in the region. But in the face of incessant enemy fire, the task of holding the Chinese at bay kept getting tougher and tougher. Eventually, having established that continued engagement with the Chinese forces was an exercise in futility owing to our rapidly depleting resources, the decision to withdraw was taken. Some managed to retreat, but the order never reached some as they continued to fight and fought till the last bullet. Despite all the handicaps, the Sikhs, Kumaunis, Gorkhas and Dogras together managed to inflict heavy losses upon the Chinese. It is reported that Chinese casualties were greater by around 5 times. To honor the brave display by our troops in the Violon sector during the 1962 Sino-Indian War, the Violon War Memorial stands tall. For his heroics, Sepoy Keval Singh of 4 Sikh was posthumously awarded the Mahavir Chakra, and 10 others were awarded the Veer Chakra. The Indian Armed Forces continue to man the border with unshakable dedication away from their loved ones. Of course, things have improved vastly over the years, but crumbling roads, pitiable network connection, and a general lack of creature comforts we take for granted ensure that conditions still remain challenging. Retracing our steps back to Dibrugarh via roads that barely cling on to the mountainside, we headed south towards Nagaland, towards Kohima. Erratic rain coupled with ongoing construction turned the drive up to Kohima into a slush fest, putting the Venue's SUV credentials to the test. Several hours of unpaved roads, slipping and sliding and driving through pools of water later, we reached. Nestled among the hills, the capital city of Nagaland shares a peaceful border with Myanmar around 200 kilometers away. But in 1944, it and the surrounding hills were witness to one of the bitterest and bloodiest battles during World War II, fought between the Commonwealth forces and the Japanese. Fought between April and June 1944, the Battle of Kohima was triggered by the Japanese attack on the Allied forces to prevent them from attacking Burma. The Japanese intended to attack Kohima and Imphal via the Indo-Burma border to obliterate supply bases of the British and advance further towards Assam. Their incursion into India was thwarted at Kohima in April 1944 by Commonwealth forces.
After a slightly long and difficult journey through rain-ravaged and under-construction roads, we finally made it to Kohima. Surrounding me are graves of Commonwealth Force soldiers who fought during the Second World War. In the Battle of Kohima, the conflict between Commonwealth forces and the Japanese forces who were trying to invade from the Burmese side. Now these graves are of Indian, British soldiers as well as soldiers from other nationalities. Behind me is the tennis court marked in white where the final battle took place at Garrison Hill over here. This tennis court was part of the Deputy Commissioner's house, and this is where the final battle took place between the Japanese and the Commonwealth forces. And over there is a memorial commemorating soldiers Indian soldiers who gave up their life but who were cremated in accordance with their religious rituals.
The post-battle scene has been described as unspeakable by some. In fact, the Battle of Imphal and Kohima was voted Britain's greatest battle in 2013 by the British National Army Museum. A notable feature of the Kohima War Cemetery is a small cherry tree planted close to the tennis court. It is said that this tree was used by Japanese soldiers for target practice. The tree eventually got destroyed during the battle. A branch from the fallen tree gave birth to the one pictured here. And for this reason, the Kohima battle is also known as the Battle Under the Cherry Tree. We left Nagaland behind and made our way to Imphal, Manipur's capital, to head to the Imphal War Cemetery. Much like Kohima, Imphal too was a scene of intense conflict, with the Japanese trying to destroy Allied forces and invade India, while the Allied forces were seeking to maintain their stronghold on the region to enable them to enter and recapture Burma, now Myanmar.
In continuation with the battles fought during World War II, we made our way to Imphal War Cemetery. Much like the Kohima War Cemetery, this one too houses graves of Commonwealth soldiers who fought during Second World War sometime in the summer of 1944, defending the territory from Japanese forces who were attacking from the Burmese border. This battle too was a heavily damaging one for the Japanese forces. They suffered heavy casualties, and after months of battle they were out of supplies, they could not sustain themselves, so they had to retreat and give up their attempt to take over Imphal and Kohima.
The Japanese defeat at Kohima and Imphal was one of their biggest, with a reported 54,879 casualties, most of these losses a result of starvation, disease and exhaustion. The Allies, in contrast, suffered 12,603 casualties. Located just a few kilometers away from the Imphal War Cemetery, the Imphal Indian Army War Cemetery houses graves of mostly Muslim soldiers of undivided India who fought with the Commonwealth forces between 1939 and 1945 during World War II. It also houses the Imphal Cremation Memorial, built in honor of 868 Hindu and Sikh soldiers and airmen martyred during the Battle of Imphal and cremated as per their religious rites. Imphal marked the end of our northeastern sojourn as we strapped ourselves in for the long drive back all the way to New Delhi to the National War Memorial in the capital. This meant more tortuous roads to contend with for our Hyundai Venue as we made our way back to Dimapur. The National War Memorial, inaugurated in February 2019, honors every single Indian soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice for their nation following India's independence in 1947. Every evening, the National War Memorial hosts the evening retreat ceremony. As part of the ceremony, a rather emotional ceremony is performed to honor one of the 25,000 plus soldiers whose names are etched in stone on the walls of the Chakra. The ceremony is attended by the martyrs' next of kin or a member of their family, along with a readout of the accounts of their heroics, followed by a wreath laying at the obelisk. Marking the end of the service is the lowering of the flags before the lights come on. The Chakra, whose circular walls are akin to the ancient war formation Chakra view, bear the names of every single soldier martyred during service, etched in individual granite tablets. The innermost circle, called the Amar Chakra, houses the obelisk at the bottom of which burns the eternal flame, representing the Amar Jawan or immortal soldier. The retreat, which traditionally marked the end of the day's battle between the warring parties, marked the end of our incredible Great India Drive with the Hyundai Venue to honor those brave souls who gave it all for their nation. The concept of war might be debatable, but what isn't is that as citizens of the nation, it is our duty to honor those brave souls who put it all on the line so the likes of you and I can sleep peacefully at night. We salute these soldiers, those brave hearts, both past and present, and will be eternally grateful for their service to the nation.